So first video in a long time, but I'm going to get straight into it. This is a deconstruction of the remix of Blackstreet that I've done. So I've put up the video across my social media channels. I've also uploaded it to YouTube. That was a little bit tricky. I've got to say, managed to find a way to actually get it up there and stay up there without being taken down. So that could be a subject for another video. But this one is all about actually how I constructed the remix. And when I say remix, it's not really a remix. I would call it a re-rub. It's kind of like I'm taking the original, I'm using the complete original track, which does pose its own challenges. And then I'm adding new elements and basically turning it into something that a house DJ can play. So this is 120 BPM. The original tempo, I can't remember what it was. It was slow. I mean, if you listen to Blackstreet, No Diggity, this is a song that has tons of space, has a really interesting groove with the drums. I'm going to point that out in a minute. And that posed a lot of challenges in terms of making it work at the house tempo. Generally, you'll find that when you speed things up, obviously, there are shorter gaps between drum elements and also phrasing on lyrics, because we've got MCs here. It could be that it feels slightly too fast, but I think I've just about got away with it. Now, one of the problems I had was actually taking the original track to the new tempo, and I tried to do it in Ableton Live. I really struggled, I've got to say. I took it out to other tools. I tried Cubase, I tried Logic. Something about the stretching in terms of that big speed difference just felt really uncomfortable to listen to. So in the end, what I did, I put it into Rekordbox, Pioneer's DJ software, and somehow it sounded the cleanest of the bunch. So I took the tempo from the original, I think it was about 80 or so, into 120 using Rekordbox. I bounced it out, I recorded it as an audio file. So you can see that up here. So I'm going to say here, original track, just to make it clearer. So that's the original No Diggity tune. So let me solo that for you, and you can hear that. By the way, I've got some EQ here, because I've added my own drum elements and my own bass line. So that means I've removed the bass. Let me just bring everything back.
Yeah. You know what? I like the players. Going down, face to Blackstreet. The homies got at me, collab creations. Bump like acne, no doubt. I put it down, never slouch. As long as my credit can vouch, that dog couldn't catch me. Say, tell me who can stop with Dre making.
So you can hear there that actually there is quite a lot of integrity in terms of the sound quality, despite the fact it's gone to a higher tempo. So here's the first thing that I did. In order to create my elements, I removed the bass. So you can see here I've used an EQ3 to reduce frequencies below 125 Hertz. Then also I've got a couple of reductions in frequency energy here. So you can see here minus 10 dBs at 201 Hertz, a very slight dip at 810 Hertz. And then over here I've got minus 3.6 at 7K. So this was just to really give my drum elements a bit more space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the drums. Let's take a look. This is a drum kit that is one of the raw cuts libraries. And so this is a drum kit called Bud Drums. So have a listen. And I selected this kit because it had that raw kind of texture to it, and it really felt like it would suit the original track. The programming is basically a kick drum, which is providing that 4-to-the-floor backbone. There's an offbeat hi-hat, there's a clap with a ton of reverb on it, and then a small snare. So at the moment what's happening is that's playing whilst the original sample is playing here, the intro. But what I also did was I created an intro, which is from a section of the album, and then also the end of the No Diggity song. So look, let me just take solo off and have a listen. So you see that down here? And that's providing an intro. When you're making a club tune, you want to make it so that the people on the dance floor, they're going to recognize certain elements coming in. And so this is for the DJ. It's a way to kind of tease in the song so people are going, right, yeah, I recognize that. And it's whilst the DJ is mixing this new tune in. So it's a real nice bridge into the original elements here. And I've got some wind chimes here just to add some textures. Have a listen.
You know what? I like the place.
Yeah, at the moment there's no bass line. That's going to come in a very simple fashion here.
It's going down, fake to Blackstreet. The homies got at me, collab creations. Bump like acne, no doubt. I put it down, never slouch. As long as my credit can vouch, that dog couldn't catch me. Hey, now, tell me who can stop with Dre making moves, attracting honeys like a magnet, giving them orgasms with my mellow accent. Still moving this flavor with the homies Blackstreet and Teddy, the original rough shakers.
Shorty get down, good lord. Baby got him open all over town. Strictly bitch, she don't play around. Cover much ground, got game by.
So that's my new bass line, and in terms of what it is, it's an operator, and just a very slight amount of cut here. In terms of the frequency, it's about 80, and then over here is glue compressor just to bind those notes together a bit better. And for me, that's a real nice simple bass tone. This is just a sine wave, so it's using just one oscillator from operator in its default configuration. And, I felt that suited the track. I feel it really works. So that's operator for bass. And let me just talk about the original track, right? So one of the challenges that I found was that with the beats, it's basically where there's a tambourine that's occurring just before the beat. Let's see if we can isolate that and take a look.
Getting paid is a forte, each and every day, true play away.
So I don't know if you could hear that, right? Because there's an MC on there. But if we take a look, so let's come back.
Getting paid is a forte.
Yeah, so look, take a look at this hit. So we've got some tambourine, which is occurring earlier in the grid. And that was the challenge in terms of getting the timing right on this one. I found it really, really hard to work with. And I nearly basically bailed out of actually doing the mix because I thought, it's going to be too messy. When you listen to that track and the original tempo, you can really make out that distance between the tambourine here and then the snare. But I think it just about gets away with it.
Getting paid is a forte, each and every day, true play away. I can't get her out of my mind. I think about the girl all the time. Getting paid is a...
So that's that. There's a chime here just to signify certain elements. I've got a tambourine loop that comes in just to pick up the pace a bit.
About the girl all the time. About the girl all the time. East side to the west side, pushing fat rides, it's no surprise. She got tricks in the stash, stacking up the cash, fast when it comes to the gas. By no means average, it's on when she's got to have it. Baby, you're a perfect 10. I wanna get in, can I get down so I can win? I like the way you work it, no diggity.
Little reverse crash cymbal here, that's helping to get those transitions between the verses and the choruses. And then on this section here, I've got a pad. Just going to show you what that is. This is using basically a preset on the chord device. So that's creating a chord from one note. And then the M1 patch is String Machine. This is a really nice warm pad sound. And I've put quite a lot of low cut on there because I felt, with the existing elements and the bass line, I needed that to just kind of sit in the mids. So let's have a listen. I'm going to solo that for you.
Let me tell you how it goes. Curves the word, spins the verb. Lovers and curves so free, what you heard. With the back.
And then what I did was I copied the notes, but I changed the timing. And despite this fact, it's saying here this is pad. It's actually an organ, and it's the M1. That classic. Let's have a listen. Which sits really nicely with the pad there. And that was my way of taking this from that kind of R&B hip-hop thing into slightly more kind of 90s house kind of a vibe. So anyway, that's it. But what I did was pretty much follow the original arrangement by taking the beats out at certain points. You can see the edits here, adding a little kind of kick feel there. Then giving this section some space, so taking my beats away, then the original beats sit there, but the bass line to roll over there.
I like the way you work it, no diggity. I got to bag it up. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I got to bag it up. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I got to bag it up. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I got to bag it up. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo.
So that's all working nicely, and there's some nice little edits here. I was chopping these out to make it sit with the actual existing track. And I'll tell you what I will do. I'll bring the video window in so we can see what happens there, because there's the female MC. Let's see what goes on.
That's my feet, and we roll sheep, lying first class from New York City to Blackstreet. What you know about me? Now don't be off my thing. Party here with his brain, 40 by my shorty. As for me, icy gleaming, pinky diamond ring. We beast, I just click up for this scene. Ain't you getting bored with these fake awards? I shows and proves, no doubt. I've been eating so. Please excuse if I come across rude, that's just me. And that's how a player's got to be. Stay kicking game with a capital G. Ask the people's on my block, I'm as real as can be. Word is born, faking moves never been my thing. So Teddy, pass the word to your nigga Chauncey. I'll be sending a call and say around 3:30. Queen Billy Blackstreet.
So anyway, we're getting to the end of the original track now, so that's what's happening. And then what I did was I got that intro section that I had earlier, and I've used that as an outro. So I'm reversing the order of these components. So look, here we go. So remember, the DJ will be mixing in their next tune anywhere around here. So gradually taking those elements away. You can see here the bass line carries on in this pattern, but then it strips back to a single note over here. Just finally, just show you what I did on the master. FG Grey, providing some bus compression. And then Slate Digital FGX, basically working as my mastering limiter. So that's it, and this is one of a selection of kind of R&B re-rubs that I'm doing. You know, I've done also the Mary J. Blige one. Let me know if you want to see a deconstruction of that one. And I'm just going to go through some of the tracks that I used to like back in the day and just house them up. Every one of them is going to be 120 BPM, so it's going to be a real standardized template. But I'm going to see what I do with each one. And if you guys have got any suggestions for R&B tunes that you want to see turned into a house track and something that has this kind of a vibe, just let me know.